Will domestic cruising be coming back to Australian shores this year? Let's talk about it. I'm Adrian, the Cruise and Travel Guy. As always, thank you so much for subscribing to my channel. I'm almost at 2,000 subscribers and I can't believe it, so if you haven't subscribed yet, I would love it if you could get me over the line. It's been almost 15 months since the last passenger-carrying cruises departed Australian waters. During that time, the world has undergone a massive transformation. Where we used to head across the globe in a whim, we're now used to closed borders, quarantine and lockdown. In a world where vaccine passports for international travel are likely to become a reality, countries like Australia are taking advantage of their borders to successfully limit the risks of COVID. For my international viewers, you may or may not know that Australia has skated through relatively unscathed when it comes to COVID. Certainly we've had our fair share of horrible and untimely deaths, but compared to the rest of the world, things have been pretty good down under. That's by and large due to the shutdown of our international borders and our geography. At the same time, we've contended with the Ruby Princess debacle and the shutdown of state borders as well as city and statewide lockdowns. So we're in an enviable position with regards to COVID on the whole, yet cruising as a topic just seems to present this massive complex issue for our government. However, there has been some promising news. As most of you would know, the cruising ban is set to expire on June 17th, which is less than a fortnight from now. As reported in Cruise Weekly, the Sydney Future of Travel Forum was held this week, where the Australian Trade and Tourism Minister Dan Tehan said the following: "It would be wonderful to get more cruise ships operating around Australia, and also taking into account the bubble we've got in operation with New Zealand. Also seeing cruise ships operating between Australia and New Zealand," which sounds promising, except for what came next. He deferred to the Committee of all State and Territory Chief Medical Officers for their advice on the matter, saying, "That's a panel set up to advise the government through this pandemic, and it's one of the reasons we're in such a strong position as we are today." He continued, "My hope is that if we can continue managing the pandemic like we are, we will be able to see more cruise ships being able to ply our waters, and hopefully ply the waters between Australia and New Zealand as well." The minister made it very clear that the decision to bring cruise ships back down under will be highly dependent on the advice of the committee. So despite the possibility of the ban on cruising coming to an end in only a couple of weeks' time, in light of Victoria being plunged into its fourth lockdown since the start of the pandemic, I just don't see that happening this month. What I hope for, however, is that instead of just a flat-out extension of this ban, that the government finally commit to a framework for the resumption of cruising. As I've said time and time again, cruising is happening overseas and it has been happening since 2020. The US is now moving forward with their plans to resume cruising within the next few weeks, and we saw that battle play out between their CDC and the cruise lines. But part of that battle was finding a middle ground with workable solutions tailored for the cruise industry, taking into account the immense work that cruise bodies and cruise lines have done to ensure the safety of their passengers and crew. Without a clear starting point, it will be that much harder for the industry to reliably plan for a cruising restart in Australia before year's end. For all the reasons I've mentioned in the past, I believe we are in a position to restart domestic cruising within Australia, with strict adherence to the comprehensive safety policies as proposed by CLIA and its member cruise lines, including 100% testing of all passengers and crew. In the same week that news broke about the Australian government commencing a trial of overseas travel for Australians that are vaccinated within the next 6 to 8 weeks, I would hope that the next round of cruise news released by the government has something more tangibly positive in there, that at the very minimum gives us all clarity about the state of cruising in Australia this year. Many of you, like me, just want to know one way or the other. If you haven't done so already, you can head to readysetsail.com.au, where you can make your voice heard with your local elected politicians. New Zealand, you'll get your chance soon, with CLIA announcing that a Kiwi version is in the works. Australian residents and citizens can also complete the parliamentary petition, which I've linked to in the description box below, and the signature period for that ends on June 9th. As always, I will stay across the latest cruise news for you, and I hope that I get to bring something more positive to you very soon. If you are looking to book a cruise for 2022 and beyond, perhaps, you can head to my website, thecruiseandtravelguy.com.au. You can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at The Cruise and Travel Guy. Thanks for watching, stay safe, and I'll see you soon. In a world where vaccine passports are likely to become countries like Australia are taking where the Australian Trade and Tourism Minister. I would hope the next round of so close. CLIA announcing a Kiwi version is in the works. A Kiwi version. As always, I was stellar. As always, I was. As always, I was. Really?